everyone. Everyone all set on that end? Sound is good? Okay, great. Good morning and welcome to one of the most important places in the city of Boston when it comes to making sure that people can get to where they need to go and that everyone is safe. The part of where our public works operations is based, and obviously, as you can see, one of the, I think, most beautiful sights in the city when we get our salt pile ready for all that's ahead. It is always an honor to be here with our city workers who work so hard every single day to make sure that residents have the seamless, unnoticeable experience of city services being delivered. And there's special preparations that go into making that possible for winter when we need to be ready for the unexpected at all moments. And so you'll hear following me from our Chief of Streets, Yasha Franklin Hodge, our Chief of Community Engagement, Brianna Malore, and our Chief of Housing, Sheila Dillon. But obviously we are joined by many, many other key team members as well. We have representation from our Emergency Management Cabinet, led by Chief Shumeen Benford, from EMS under Chief Jim Hooley. We also have leadership throughout the Transportation Department with Commissioner Nick Gove, our Superintendent of Street Operations, Mike Brohl, Boston Fire Department under the leadership of Commissioner Paul Burke, the Inspectional Services Department with Commissioner Sean Lydon, the Boston Police Department represented here today with Deputy Pam Harris, and of course our incredible Public Works team members. So with everyone here and with all of their teams, we do our very best to try to forecast, plan ahead, and deal with winter in New England. We want to be prepared for anything, and we know that that is much easier because of the collaboration of so many different teams across every part of city government. With everyone here and with all of these teams, there are 44,000 tons of salt across the city, just 12,000 tons behind us here today, and 175 pieces of snow clearing apparatus that are ready to go, with 800 more available to be deployed in extreme weather events from our partners across the city. Winter doesn't stand a chance in Boston because we are ready, and we know that last winter was particularly mild, and so I'm trying not to jinx it today here in front of the salt pile, but we will be prepared for anything, as we know it can be a whole range of experiences of how much precipitation comes down at what hour of the day with what wind speeds, and you won't get better experts to know how to prepare and manage that. This year, our Public Works Department has also continued doing the work of making sure that the jobs that come with this work are going directly to our local communities as well. Public Works has identified 2 small businesses, both based in Roxbury and owned by by residents of color and Boston residents, A&M Home Service and Mass Trucking, who will work with us this year to clear ice and snow from the city stairways and footpaths. And so as we think about taking a creative approach to breaking down the contracting within the city of Boston, this is reflecting our commitment and the city's value in advancing equity while also ensuring that the talent and resources right here in our community go to deliver these city services. But preparing for winter isn't just about streets and public walkways. It is also about keeping our residents warm and safe. This is a time when the cost of utilities goes up and can put a strain on families and small businesses. And that's why we want to encourage all of our Boston families to look into Boston Community Electric, which provides 3 options for electricity pricing and renewable energy. These city programs, what has been called CCE in the past, Community Choice Electricity, these standard rates have been cheaper than Eversource, and we want to make that accessible and available to all of our residents to save money and be able to stay warm as well. Some other important information to keep in mind. Again, this is well familiar to folks who are hardy New Englanders, but dress for the weather in layers, wear a hat and gloves. If you see our unhoused or elderly neighbors who are outside, or someone who might seem like they need help or are disoriented or underdressed in the snow or in the cold weather as we get into winter, please call 911 to make sure that they can get help and support right away. For all other non-emergency concerns, you can call 311. We know that getting through the winter here is a community effort, and we have the strongest community here in Boston, one that supports one another. From helping shovel snow and dig out cars to checking on our neighbors, I am so proud and grateful for all of the community that we see year-round. For more about trash and recycling and parking and clearing snow, anything that has to do with winter weather, you can go to boston.gov/snow for more information. Okay, and before I pass it on to Chief Yasha Franklin Hodge, otra vez en español. Buenos días. Con esa gente aquí y todos sus equipos, 44,000 toneladas de sal en toda la ciudad, 12,000 toneladas detrás de nosotros, y 175 aparatos quitan nieves preparados, con 800 más que desplegarán en casos extremos. Estamos listos para el invierno. La naturaleza no es algo que podamos controlar a nivel municipal y no podemos prepararnos para ella solos. Este año, nuestro Departamento de Obras Públicas ha identificado 2 pequeñas empresas, ambas con sede en Roxbury y propiedad de personas de color, A&M Home Service y Mass Trucking. Este año trabajarán con nosotros para quitar el hielo y la nieve de las escaleras y aceras de la ciudad. Estas colaboraciones reflejan el valor de nuestra ciudad para promover la equidad y al mismo tiempo aprovechar el talento y los recursos existentes para beneficiar a todos. Pero la preparación para el invierno no se limita a las calles y los paseos públicos. También se trata de mantener a los residentes calientes y seguros. Es una época en la que el precio de luz y gas sube y pone en dificultades a las familias y a las pequeñas empresas. Por eso, queremos invitar a los residentes a que se informen sobre Boston Community Electric, que ofrece 3 opciones de precios de electricidad y energía renovable. Y las tarifas estándar han sido más baratas que las de Eversource. Hay más información para tener en cuenta. Visítase de acuerdo con la temperatura por capas. Lleve gorro y guantes. Si ve a nuestros vecinos mayores o sin hogar que están desorientados, mal vestidos o tienen problemas de movilidad, llame a 911. Para cualquier otro problema que no sea una emergencia, llame al 311. Pasar el invierno es un esfuerzo comunitario en Boston y aquí tenemos una comunidad muy fuerte, una que se apoya mutuamente. Estoy orgullosa y agradecida de la comunidad que tenemos aquí en Boston. Para obtener más información sobre la basura y el reciclaje, el aparcamiento y la limpieza de la nieve, básicamente todo lo relacionado con el clima invernal, visite boston.gov/snow. Okay, thank you so much, and I will pass it over to Chief Franklin Hodge.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Yasha Franklin Hodge, and I have the honor of serving as Mayor Wu's Chief of Streets. We're standing here in front of the snow pile at the center of the city's snow operations here at 400 Frontage Road. This is where the plowing and salting are managed. The salt pile behind us is the largest of 9 that we have at our district yards and at this central facility. I want to start by thanking some of the members of the team who are so crucial to the work that the city does every winter. Superintendent of Street Operations, Mike Brohl, Assistant Superintendents Danny Nee and Clarence Perkins, and just to really say thank you to everyone in our Highway Division and all of the many staff members in Public Works and the Boston Transportation Department who are out every storm, every time there's a major winter weather event or a minor winter weather event to make sure that our streets are clear and safe and that people can get where they need to go. For many folks in the streets cabinet, winter, and particularly in Public Works, winter is the hardest time of year. The hours are long, schedules are often very unpredictable. City staff respond to dozens of snow events a year, everything from major storms to freezing rain. And even in a very mild winter like the one that we had last year, city crews were out 15 times treating the streets to deal with freezing rain or borderline temperatures. So no matter what the winter throws at us, this is a challenging time of year, but one that we have a team who is dedicated, committed, and willing to put in the work to make sure that all of us can get where we need to go regardless of the weather. As Mayor Wu mentioned, we have the ability to field between in-house equipment and contractors. We have the ability to field more than 900 pieces of equipment during a major storm event. And I want to thank as well our central fleet team led by Director Bill Coughlin. They're responsible for getting the trucks ready for winter, and they've been working for months to do that, and for making sure that all of our vehicles are maintained and operational before and during a storm. If you ever come out here in the middle of a winter storm, you'll see an incredibly busy garage, and it's a hive of activity. Vehicles are coming in off the road, needing to get a plow fixed or with some kind of mechanical problem. There's just a crew of people who are ready to jump on it and make sure that they can get out there and keep working. So very appreciative of all the work that team does to keep our fleet operational. We rely primarily on city staff for smaller winter events, but we have an army of contractors who are available for the major stuff. And over the past 2 months, we've been meeting with those contractors, reviewing procedures and operational plans, making sure that they're ready to step up when we call them. Again, this year, Boston is working hard to improve coordination with our state agencies who also share snow clearing responsibilities on certain streets, paths, bus shelters, and bridges in the city of Boston. In November, we convened what is now an annual interagency coordination meeting with the MBTA, MassDOT, DCR to review snow clearing responsibilities and to make sure that we've solidified plans, especially in the places where there's overlapping jurisdictions or where there's been challenges in past years getting snow cleared. Whether you walk, take the bus, bike, or drive, we want winter travel to be safe and convenient for you. In addition to our intensive efforts to clear vehicle lanes on our streets, we also work to make sure the city is safe for people using our sidewalks or riding a bike. As part of our standard post-storm cleanup operations, we will deploy small pieces of equipment to clear curb ramps and crosswalks in some of our busiest areas, including our neighborhood business districts, near transit schools, and other places where we know that there are large volumes of pedestrians. We originally rolled out these cleanup efforts as part of a pilot project several years ago, and it's now become part of our regular winter operations. We've received tremendous positive feedback from neighborhoods and from the business community, and we've invested in the equipment that we need and the services that we need to make sure that we can continue this program as a regular thing. We also have appropriately sized equipment to clear our growing network of protected bike lanes. Many people bike year-round in Boston, and keeping our bike lanes clear is part of our mission to ensure that our whole transportation system is working no matter what the weather. So we know that making it through the winter is very much a team effort, certainly within the city, but also with our residents and businesses. And we need people to do their part and follow the rules that we have for shoveling. All sidewalks and curb ramps abutting your property should be cleared within 3 hours after snowfall, or if snow ends overnight, within 3 hours of sunrise. When clearing property, please be a good neighbor. Help out by clearing the catch basins and the fire hydrants that are nearby to ensure that we don't get street flooding, and that in the event of a fire that the fire department has easy access to those hydrants. If you're able, please help shovel out a neighbor who might need a hand. Residents and property owners must keep a 42-inch path of travel on sidewalks. This helps make sure that they are safe and usable for all, especially for people using a wheelchair, a mobility device, or pushing a stroller. We have an excellent code enforcement team that will be out inspecting, responding to 311 complaints, and where necessary, issuing tickets to make sure that sidewalks stay clear and passable for people. When you don't clear your sidewalk, you are forcing people to travel in the street or navigate uneven and icy surfaces. This puts lives at risk, and it makes it harder for all of our neighbors to stay mobile and safe during the winter weather. When you're clearing your property or your business, please do not throw snow into the street. That adds workload to the already burdened Public Works team that has been working hard to keep the street clear. Please make a pile and ensure that there's sufficient width for travel. All curbside trash and recycling should be placed at a clear space on the curb so that crews can safely access your bins, barrels, and bags. Barrels and recycling carts behind snowbanks may not be collected. And during any inclement weather event, we ask our residents to be patient. When it snows, we will plow and treat every street in the city of Boston and every neighborhood, but we prioritize our work to keep our main routes clear for emergency vehicles and public transit vehicles. So give us time to do our work, but after a storm has ended, if there's a street that you think needs attention, you can contact 311 and we will make sure that we inspect it and treat it as necessary. For the entire list of winter resources, as the mayor said, you can go to boston.gov/snow and follow the City of Boston and the Boston Public Works social media channels for real-time updates as weather arrives. And lastly, I want to remind everybody to stay safe on the roads in the winter. If you're driving in the snow, please slow down. Winter weather can make it harder to drive, and you may have people who are on foot or in a wheelchair who need to travel in the street if the sidewalks haven't been cleared. If you're biking, wear bright lights and slow down. And with the early sunsets, we already have more people walking after dark, and so we urge everybody to be cautious, especially when they're operating a motor vehicle. So we got off easy last year, but we are ready and prepared for whatever Mother Nature throws at us this season. Please look out for your neighbors. Thank you for doing your part this winter. And with that, I will hand it over to our Chief of Community Engagement, Brianna Malore.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brianna Malore. I'm the Chief of Community Engagement for the City of Boston, and I have the pleasure of serving Boston's residents alongside my team in the Community Engagement Cabinet. I would like to thank you all for being here, and thank you specifically to the mayor for her leadership and to Chief Franklin Hodge. Thank you for sharing crucial information to ensure Boston residents are safe and prepared for the winter months ahead. I want to speak directly to Boston residents to provide clarity and guidance on how the city is committed to keeping you safe and connecting you to necessary resources and helping you navigate the cold time ahead. First, I want to uplift our neighborhood liaisons. We work to connect Boston residents to city services. From East Boston to Mattapan, our liaisons work directly for you. If you do not know who your neighborhood liaison is, check out our website at boston.gov/ONS. As we prepare for the winter, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services liaisons are ready to connect residents to Boston's community choice electricity programs, fuel assistance programs, to the Food Justice Department that helps with residents facing food insecurity, and shelters for unhoused community members. Neighborhood liaisons are actively making wellness checks and calls to senior centers and nonprofit organizations to make sure they are aware of the services provided by the city so community members can be connected directly to services. For example, like neighborhood heating centers. The Community Engagement Cabinet is also home to 311. Boston 311 is 24/7, a non-emergency hotline. You can also reach 311 by also dialing 617-635-4500 to connect with 311 call takers. The 311 app is also available in 11 different languages, and you also can call 311 in 11 different languages. You have the option of downloading the Boston 311 app on your smartphone to upload any concerning photos of fire hydrants that are covered in snow, or unshoveled handicap ramps or sewer drains that are covered in snow as well in your neighborhood. The city is requesting that the residents wait 3 hours after snowfall before you call 311, or 3 hours after sunrise if the snow continues in the night to report unshoveled sidewalks, salting, and snow plowing. It may take up to 3 hours to process snow-related requests while our Public Works Department is hard at work clearing the main roads and side streets to make sure the roads are safe. For some examples, call 311 to report a broken traffic signal or if a street lamp is out due to snow or heavy winds. Please keep in mind that the city does not clear driveways. Also call 311 if you need to report any unshoveled sidewalks. Just a reminder that property owners are responsible for clearing their sidewalks and handicap ramps surrounding their property. Also call 311 to identify discounted parking in your specific neighborhoods as well. And for our favorite topic, to all of our neighbors that are using space savers, remember you can only use space savers when the city declares a snow emergency and declares a snow emergency has ended. Residents have 48 hours to use a space saver after a snow emergency has ended, or the city will remove them. And after that, we encourage you to remove them as well. And as a friendly reminder that space savers are not allowed in the South End or Bay Village. Lastly, Alert Boston will send notifications to residents' phones to alert you of any snow emergencies. You can also access all snow emergency information by visiting boston.gov/snow, and also follow 311 on all social platforms. Thank you all for your time, and I pass it over to Sheila Dillon, Chief of Housing.
Thank you. Good morning. As was mentioned, my name is Sheila Dillon, and I'm Chief of Housing for the City of Boston, and I'm here to highlight how we're preparing to make sure that our vulnerable populations are safe. City departments working with our state and nonprofit partners have put a plan in place to make sure that our homeless individuals are safe this winter. The Boston Public Health Commission, Pine Street, Victory Programs, Boston Rescue Mission, Bay Cove, the New England Center for Homeless Veterans, and Bridge Over Troubled Waters have approximately 1,030 emergency beds for homeless individuals. In addition, the city has stood up 219 low threshold beds for individuals that, because of substance use disorders and mental health issues, need less populated facilities and additional support services. However, to prepare for increased demand that we're already seeing, providers have added an additional 120 emergency shelter beds and 55 warming spaces this fall. In cold and inclement weather, no one will be turned away. In response to regional needs, the state has secured over 400 additional overflow winter beds or warming spaces for homeless individuals in communities outside of Boston. This work is very important because securing spaces that are outside of Boston, people can stay in their communities, and it relieves pressure from our Boston shelter system. The state has also brought on additional shelter space in Boston and in communities outside of Boston to accommodate the significant increase in homeless families, many of them migrant families coming from other states and countries. This important work is ongoing. It is our collective goal that no family spends time outside or in any type of unsafe condition. On cold and stormy nights, Boston daytime and nighttime shelters will be in communication with each other to ensure that everyone has a safe place to shelter, receive meals, and appropriate clothing. In addition, when the weather gets very cold and there are blizzard-like conditions, Boston's first responders, city agencies, and Pine Street's outreach vans will actively encourage anyone sleeping outside to seek shelter. And as been mentioned by the mayor, we ask the public, if anyone sees anyone on the street who appears vulnerable, do not hesitate to call 911, especially in extreme cold and blizzard-like conditions. Another vulnerable population in cold and stormy weather are Boston's older residents. The Boston Home Center, a division within the City of Boston, stands ready to assist senior homeowners in need of any type of emergency repair. That could be weather-related, like ice dams, leaky roofs, or heating systems that are no longer working. If any senior has a housing-related emergency, especially weather-related, they should call 311, the mayor's hotline, 24/7. And we will make sure that we have someone on call at all times to respond. Tenants, if they have no heat, and they should always first try to call the management company. They should know before the winter starts who their management company is and what the 24/7 number is. If they do not receive what appropriate response and they are cold, they also should call 311 and ISD will respond appropriately. With that, I'm going to open it up for questions. Thank you.
We've heard so much at the state level about how strained the system is right now. How is it in Boston at this point? I know you mentioned lots of emergency beds being open, but what's the situation in the city?
Sure. So the state right now, the state pretty much runs the family shelter system, even though many of those shelters are in Boston and run by private nonprofits. The state has 7,500 spaces, units for our homeless families statewide. As you've been reading, those spaces are full. So right now, the city's working with the state to look at overflow sites, both in Boston and outside of Boston, and the additional sites will be coming on in the weeks to come.
So cold outside. What's happening with those families now?
So right now I'm not aware, the state's not aware of any family that is on the street. There have been some calls about families being in cars, and they're immediately, we dispatching with the state's cooperation, dispatching people to work with the families and get them into shelter. But right now we are not aware of any families that are on the street.
The state also announced a partnership with the Y, or actually the YMCA announced it earlier today that YMCA, at least the Chinatown YMCA, will be open for families to go to.
That is correct. So as you know, one of the overflow sites right now temporarily is at 10 Park Plaza. They're using the transportation building. That is from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. So the families are looking for places to go that are appropriate for children as well. And the Wang Y has opened up their doors and are being really a wonderful partner in that work.
Sorry, say it again. Do we have enough contract flowers? Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, thank you. So we've been in contact with all 10 of our contractors. They've assured us that they'll be able to man all of their trucks. That, as that has been mentioned before, that's upwards of 800 plus trucks. We've had full cooperation, conversation, dialogue. They are not concerned with manning their vehicles, which makes us feel better going into this winter. We know that there's some labor shortages across the area. We do not feel like we're in that situation.
Mayor, the never-ending controversy with the parking spaces. What's the policy for the year?
It's the same as last year. We recognize that in extraordinary snow situations, there's been a certain way of doing things in Boston, and so we have parameters around the time period. As Chief Malloy was saying, when there is a snow emergency formally declared, space savers are permitted, meaning they won't be thrown away into the trash collection trucks for 48 hours after the snow emergency has ended. After that period, our public works teams will be treating those as abandoned items in the street and in the public way. And the carve out is that certain neighborhoods have put in place policies where they, across the entire neighborhood, have agreed they don't want to be using space savers at all, and that's the South End and Bay Village.
Mayor, I have a question about the guaranteed income, if I can ask you about that. The City Council will be discussing it today at noon. What's your position on it, and any idea of what the threshold would be, how much money it would be, or how it would be funded?
All of us here who work for the city hear stories every single day of how much people are struggling, and we know that support makes a big difference, especially when the economy is going through a tough time, especially when people are still trying to put together the pieces after the pandemic. We know that getting more resources into the hands of people who need it is the best way to close those gaps. At the city level, it's very hard for any municipality to have the scale of funding available to make a difference across the entire population. And so every other city that has done this, it's been a very limited pilot of a small number of families for a set period of time, and then that just kind of dries up and goes away. They've studied it and learned along the way of how people will use those resources, and it tells us what we already know, is that people use it for their basic needs, medical care and food, and getting to just easing the burden a little bit about all the things that everyone deserves in their lives. So I support the concept of helping people access everything they need. I think we would need to see some major resources come in a different way, because the idea of having such a small number of families for a limited time period, I don't know where we will be in the years after that has expired, when there's tremendous need throughout. And so how we've been trying to approach this in the city of Boston so far, even as the conversations are ongoing with the city council, is that we try to find ways to make a difference and build that support or infrastructure that will impact everyone. The free fares on several of our most highly used bus lines, for example, that is in some ways a little bit of the same idea, that if you can just get people the support that they need to do the things that they have to do in their lives, but that's a way, when we invest in infrastructure, that it can actually touch the whole community.
Let a pilot program go ahead in the city?
We haven't, we're not at the point of considering specific details or anything like that. I'm always open to new ways we can support our residents. Great. Thank you.